Gentlemen, good morning. We are bright and early. I'm actually here 30 minutes ahead. I was actually sitting down and I'm getting ready for the morning. I already went to the bathroom and everything else, but surprisingly, just like yesterday, we are about to hear from Scott Bessent. Hello. And Miss Caroline Levitt. So with that being your treasurer, you got a couple of headlines and earnings right now. I figured I might as well just let this play. Yeah, I think I did. I might have scared you. I'm sorry if I came out and, we're super early, bro. So, yeah, Bessent's about to be live. I was going to just sit here quietly and listen, so I figured I might as well do my other work and then just play the news in the background, worst case. And then, we'll listen to it. So, good morning. We're not starting yet. So, I don't know if you're used to this. Early bird, baby. It's 5:30, bro. It's 5:30 Pacific time. Oh, yeah, I still got to get my caffeine. I haven't even stretched around a little bit. Oh, man, but we'll have a good one. Today should be pretty exciting. And you already had a couple of earnings moves. We'll talk about them. UPS, NVO, HIMS, a couple of others, baby. But good morning. Here, I'll let, retail sales came out, so I'll let the propaganda do the work while I do my work for you. Good morning.
This is a conundrum for economists because there should be an offset in inventories to all of these imports. But even though we got 27% more imports of consumer goods, retail inventories fell. And nobody quite knows what's going on with that. But it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out tomorrow in GDP.
Mike McKee, thank you, sir. With the latest, more data coming later. Job openings, as Mike pointed out. You'll get payrolls later in the week. Consumer confidence coming later this morning, too. So look out for that as well. In a few seconds' time, we should have a press briefing with the Treasury Secretary. So when that room starts to fill out and the Treasury Secretary walks into the briefing room, we'll take that for you in just a moment. Also looking ahead to more data on Friday, as we say. This is the take from Kathy Bosjantic of Nationwide, writing, "We think the economy added just 120,000 jobs in April." Kathy joins us now to discuss. Kathy, welcome to the program. 120. Are we at risk of something much lower?
Where the fuck is Kathy Woods at?
Good morning, John. Well, I do think the risks are on the downside. But it's a
See, I get to hear this in the morning, and I don't usually say you don't get to hear this
numbers
part.
in payroll or the hit from
I like the morning people though.
Layoffs.
These are the like low key though. You want to listen to the morning
sectors.
people.
I think that's going to
be
a few months from now.
You know why?
We certainly have seen businesses just pull in their hiring reins, and given that we do see churn in the labor market every month, the fact that you're just seeing companies paralyzed, right, and not hiring, that does impart.
It's early. This doesn't count. This isn't real. The stream right now isn't real.
This isn't specifics that you're looking
We're not
for
doing anything. We're just listening.
Under the hood
this doesn't
of
count.
the headline number that's
Okay,
going
you're
to be
in. This is a dream right now.
Yeah,
That's
no,
it. You got to go clear your bowels.
One of the main engines of growth in payrolls has really been the healthcare and social assistance sector. Those sectors are very much related and dependent on federal government activity and support. So we think those are areas that will start to see some softening, and then that means overall non-farm payrolls start to weaken. Really, if you looked at like kind of what we would call the core cyclical sector, we had already seen the labor market losing some steam, but overall healthcare, education, and even the government sector was boosting the overall headline number.
Kathy, we're going to get a host of other data before that, including the JOLTS information, which includes the quits rate. We'll get some more consumer confidence, as John was just mentioning. I'm just wondering, from your vantage point, as you look forward, how you reconcile the gap that we have seen between the soft data and the hard data. Do you agree with some of the earlier guests on the show who said it's probably a 4 to 6 month lag before you see a similar type of deterioration in the hard data?
Your girl's going to come on, but I I have tinfoil.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean,
you guys want me to give you tinfoil?
Short, 3 to 6 months, but
is it too early for tinfoil, or you just woke up?
The movement in the soft data has been so pronounced.
How do you want tinfoil this early, dog? That's like trying to chew on tinfoil. You know what I'm saying?
Sometimes it can be a little bit misleading,
all right, well, here's the deal.
The confidence numbers. But like, when you spoke about the Conference Board consumer confidence data, what I'm going to zero in on is all the labor market.
But here's the deal. I've noticed this yesterday. It's kind of the reason why I'm live right now, because I swear if we keep watching this, just be on the lookout if the White House starts to report this early every day, because I think they're taking the attention. Does that make sense? So instead of watching in the morning and instead of letting the pre-market, pre-cash open trade, and instead of hearing China and everything else around the world, bro, this is the second day in a row at we're talking 5 a.m. Pacific time. They are out and about getting meetings set up, trying to do this. Now, I do think it is because of the first 100 days, because today, again, tomorrow is the end of that, and they have a big celebration week. But at the end of the day, it is this is kind of unique. I'm not used to this, so that's why I'm live right now, and we'll see where this leads us. But they're still not live. They will be on shortly. But there's a couple thousand people waiting.
If you bought an auto or a big ticket item, you're not going to be buying one in the second half of the year. So that's certainly going to be a negative.
This observation,
spending and GDP growth in the second half of the year.
John has brought up this point a lot. If you're going out and you're spending on big ticket items, say a car or some sort of SUV, are you actually nervous about losing your job?
You don't have time to focus on a
that's a great question.
Trump opinion piece or whatever is going on overseas.
I think that
you're waiting for Scott Besson and Caroline Levitt at 8 a.m.
Increase. I think if you're worried about losing your job, you probably hold on to your current car and just run it as long as you can, or look to the used car market, which that's also going to feel upward pressure, right? And prices, we saw that
stock
during COVID.
Futures erase
so I think
gain
that's a really good point.
Right.
And even in our outlook, and I would say
cooked
the vast majority
of
others I've seen, it's going to either be a borderline recession, or if we get a recession at this point, most of us thinking mild, that means the unemployment rate goes up to 5%. That's still overall historically pretty good labor market, but it's this uncertainty that is really, I think, killing the economy right now.
Kathy, as we've seen, the chairman of the Federal Reserve has chosen to prioritize anchoring inflation expectations. I just wonder, from your perspective, how you imagine that might shape his approach to next week's
morning workout, dog. Sicko. I love it, though.
Yeah,
I'm about to get my
stretches in. He's going to have to walk a tightrope as many times he does, especially during the press conference. But I don't think he'll back away from that. I know some others have been a little more dovish, right, some Fed officials. But I think he'll maintain this idea that, inflation expectations high. The worst outcome for them is it becomes embedded and becomes more persistent. One thing I worry about is the rollout of the tariffs. We're still waiting to see if there's going to be additional sectoral tariffs. The longer that process gets elongated, the more inflation shock can be persistent, right? I'd almost rather have all the tariffs at once. I mean, it's not good for the economy, but in terms of inflation, it is really hard to gauge then what's, transitory versus persistent.
Kathy, what's your take on some of the pressure that's come from the president
Watch.
and the chairman of the Federal Reserve? How does that reshape the optics of them trying to ease sometime soon?
Dude, it's crazy, bro. I've been seeing old pictures of myself, man, and I don't know. It's crazy.
I want to acknowledge that.
Oh, there it is. She's live.
That is the case.
But bro, I'm fucking older now, and bro, I feel younger.
By our wonderful First Lady Melania Trump, including through her direct advocacy on behalf of
Melania in the crib. All right, I'm gonna turn this up, guys. Watch your sound.
Efforts. The Take It Down Act criminalizes the publication of non-consensual intimate imagery and requires social media and similar websites to remove such content within 48 hours of notice from a victim. The First Lady thanks all those who voted in favor of this important legislation, and the president looks forward to signing it when it arrives.
Bro, BESSENT is fucking huge.
Today officially marks 100
days.
Look,
he's bigger than the TV. He's big as the flag.
By President
I
Trump.
Never seen him stand up.
This has truly been the most historic
that I've always seen him sitting down.
Presidency in American history.
You know what I'm saying?
After building the greatest economy in the world in his first term as president,
he grow so
President
big?
Trump is in the process of doing that all over again. The American people trust in President Trump. Since his first day in office, President Trump has focused on defeating the Biden inflation crisis, bringing down the cost of living, and making the United States the best place in the world to do business, invest, create jobs,
Treasurer. He
and
should have
innovate.
been a secretary
President
point guard.
Trump's efforts are working.
He could have definitely assisted down there.
345,000 jobs have already been added since the start of President Trump's
Your
term.
son is 6'7".
Last month's jobs
Habibi.
report saw nearly 100,000 more
Does he
jobs
know how to
than
box
economists
out?
predicted. And it was the fourth highest
if your
month
son
for
is 6, I'll
private
make a
payroll
tutorial.
growth in the past 2 years.
If you want. If that kid, if he's 6'7" and he don't know how to box out yet, I will teach him.
This is a sharp contrast
I'll make
to
a
the
tutorial if he
6,000
ain't just
jobs
dunking
that were
right now.
lost each
playing
month
defense.
in the final 2 years of the
crazy.
Biden administration. The U.S. employment rate
pick me
remains
up.
at historic lows. And thanks to President Trump, Americans are seeing price relief for the first time in years. The last inflation report showed the first consumer price decline since the COVID pandemic, a decrease in energy prices, and real average hourly wage growth. President Trump is delivering on his promises to lower costs for American families and businesses. Prices across the board for everyday goods have seen declines since this president was inaugurated. From airfare to used motor vehicles to prescription drugs, prices are dropping. In fact, last month's drop in the price of prescription drugs was the largest ever recorded. And after Joe Biden botched the response to the bird flu, President Trump and Secretary Rollins' aggressive plan have brought down wholesale egg prices more than 50% from Inauguration Day. President Trump ended Joe Biden's reckless war on American energy and fossil fuels and has restored American energy dominance. And Secretary Wright, Secretary Doug Burgum are working hard on that effort every single day. Oil and gas prices are now way down because of this bold approach. Gasoline prices down 7%. Energy prices are also down as well. The Department of Interior just announced a new offshore drilling policy that will boost oil production in the Gulf of America by 100,000 barrels per day. On the deregulation front, President Trump is committed to cutting senseless red tape, especially for America's small business owners who are the backbone of our economy. We know cutting regulation leads to lower costs and higher growth. The mass deregulation effort by this administration will help usher in the golden age of America, which is underway. Immediately upon taking office, President Trump blocked all of the unfinalized Biden-era rules, saving America's more than $100 billion, or $2,100 per family of four over the next decade. And the president also launched a bold multi-agency effort to roll back existing federal regulations that drive up the cost of living on hardworking families. This effort is projected to yield significant cost savings in the coming months, including the EPA's rollback of tailpipe emission rules for light-duty and medium-duty vehicles and the Department of Transportation's latest corporate average fuel economy standards. These two efforts alone yield $755 billion in total savings, or more than $8,800 per family of four over the next decade. In total, the combined savings from all of these actions equal just over $935 billion, or nearly $11,000 in real savings per family of four per the coming decade. The press is not talking nearly enough about the positive impact of President Trump's deregulation campaign. And investments from the biggest companies and countries in the world are pouring in under this president. So far, total investment commitments under the Trump administration have reached more than $5 trillion, including $500 billion from Apple in U.S.-based manufacturing and training, $500 billion from NVIDIA in AI infrastructure, $100 billion from TSMC and U.S.-based chips manufacturing, and the $500 billion private investment by OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank in AI infrastructure as well. All of these investment commitments are estimated to generate at least 451,000 new high-paying jobs for American workers and families. At this point, President Trump has secured more investments in the United States of America in 100 days than Joe Biden did in 4 years. President Trump is America's businessman in chief, and that's why these trillions of dollars in investments are flooding to our country. The business community is bullish on America because President Trump is back in charge. Tomorrow, the president will host CEOs and leaders from several companies that have made these investments to tout their historic commitments to our country and encourage others to follow suit. Under President Trump, there has never been a better time to invest in America. And the president finally said enough is enough.
Yo, is this one of those again?
America and our workers to be ripped off any longer on trade.
Are they doing that again?
Implemented powerful tariffs to end the era of economic surrender and to rebalance
Trump will host
America's
CEOs on
trading
Wednesday.
agreements. More than 100 countries have already come to the table
I'm listening.
looking
I'm
to
like, wait a
offer
minute.
more favorable
That
terms
conclusion
for
was it's a
America
great
and
time
our
to
people.
invest.
There has never been a
That's what that
president who
ended
has
with.
created his own leverage like this president, and we are just getting started. Republicans in Congress are getting very close to passing President Trump's one big, beautiful bill, which will include the largest tax cuts in American history, strong border security measures, major military advancements, dramatic deregulation, and common sense spending reforms. As President Trump has said before, the best is yet to come. For more on President Trump's economic successes so far and the plans ahead,
We're
I
early
want to pass
because
it off
literally
to our
Caroline
incredible
Leavitt is
Treasury
live right now,
Secretary
and then
Scott
Bessent
who is here
is
today.
right. The treasurer's
and we will
about to
open it
talk.
up to questions. In our new media seat, we have Brendan Peterson, the financial services reporter for Punchbowl News. Punchbowl News covers power, people, and politics based in Washington, D.C. Laser focus on Capitol Hill, the politics of legislating, founded in 2021. And it is the first newsletter that Capitol Hill and the White House reads every morning in the middle of the day and throughout the evening. Thanks for being here with us, and we'll start with you today.
Wings,
Thanks
yeah,
so much for
you
being
got to
here. I have
do
a question for Secretary BESSENT.
I'll tell you after.
On tariffs, the president said over the weekend that we are hoping that maybe tariff revenues could replace income tax. But we also keep hearing about the deals that the administration is pursuing. So my question is, what is the White House's ultimate objective here? Do you want to have long-term tariff revenue or deals that might reduce those tariffs?
I think it's a combination of both. So we're going to take in long-term tariff revenue. We put a process in place. We have 18 important trading relationships. We will be speaking to all of those partners, or at least 17 of them, over the next few weeks. Many of them have already come to Washington. What President Trump is referring to is the ability for tariff revenue to give income tax relief. And I think there's a very good chance that we will see this in the upcoming tax bill. The president campaigned on no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, and the restoring interest deductibility for autos, for American-made autos. So tariff income could be used for tax relief on all those immediately.
So you think that there is a role for significant tariff revenue in U.S. fiscal policy?
I think that it is something that got put away a long time ago, and I think that tariffs will bring back American manufacturing and generate substantial revenues.
On manufacturing, we've seen some pretty grisly surveys this month from the Philly Fed, which saw the biggest drop since May of 2020, and the Dallas Fed, similar plunging outlook, poor shipping orders. What are American manufacturers not understanding about your push for onshoring in the U.S.?
Well, I think I was in the investment business 35 years, and I learned to ignore the survey data and look at the actual data, and the actual data has been quite good. The job data is good. Americans keep spending, and as Caroline said, we have these incredible commitments to bring manufacturing back on shore with record investment by domestic corporations and foreigners who want to come into the U.S.
Thank you so much, Caroline. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. The Chinese continue to say that the U.S. and China are not engaged in any consultation or negotiation on tariffs. You recently said you've talked to your counterpart, but more about, quote, traditional things like financial stability. So can you clarify, is the administration talking to Beijing specifically about tariffs or not?
Well, we're not going to talk about who's talking to whom, but I think that over time we will see that the Chinese tariffs are unsustainable for China. I've seen some very large numbers over the past few days that show if these numbers stay on, Chinese could lose 10 million jobs very quickly, and even if there is a drop in the tariffs, that they could lose 5 million jobs. So remember that we are the deficit country. They sell almost 5 times more goods to us than we sell to them. So the onus will be on them to take off these tariffs. They're unsustainable for them.
And they are saying you guys are not talking about it. So is that true?
Look, they have a different form of government. They're playing to a different audience. So I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty again of who's talking to whom. But as I said, I believe for the Chinese, these tariffs are unsustainable.
And very quickly, 2 days ago, you said you didn't know if President Trump had spoken to Xi Jinping. Do you know now?
Again, I would say Caroline and I have a lot of jobs around the White House. Running the switchboard isn't one of them.
Bloomberg, go ahead.
Secretary BESSENT, thank you so much for being here this morning. You've talked about the importance of giving investors certainty when it comes to the market, yet the Trump administration is continuing to negotiate several complex trade deals in a very sort of compressed time frame. When do you expect you'll be able to give the market some certainty around those deals? Do you have a deadline? Is it the 90-day pause? What are we looking at here?
Good question. And I think one thing that has been a little disconcerting for the markets is, President Trump creates what I would call strategic uncertainty in the negotiations. So he is more concerned about getting the best possible trade deals for the American people. We had 4 years of bad deals for decades of unfair trading, and we are going to unwind those and make them fair. What we are doing is we've created a process. I think the aperture of uncertainty will be narrowing, and as we start moving forward announcing deals, then there will be certainty. But certainty is not necessarily a good thing in negotiating.
Mr. Secretary, last night there were reports on the administration sort of walking back a little bit on the auto tariffs. Can you sort of just elaborate on that decision there and what we can expect going forward, and why sort of the shift in those auto tariffs?
Well, President Trump has had meetings with both domestic and foreign auto producers, and he's committed to bringing back auto production to the U.S. So we want to give the automakers a path to do that quickly, efficiently, and create as many jobs as possible.
Jasmine. Thank you so much, Caroline. Thank you, Secretary. Back on China, does the administration anticipate supply chain shocks or supply shocks coming now that cargo shipments from China are significantly down? And if so, are there plans in the process of how to address that?
I wouldn't think that we would have supply chain shocks, and I think retailers they have managed their inventory in front of this. I speak to dozens of companies, sometimes daily, but definitely weekly, and they know that President Trump is committed to fair trade and have planned accordingly.
And then second question, can you outline the timeline for when you think some of these deals, particularly with your Asian countries like India, Japan, South Korea, you may have an announcement?
I'm glad you brought up our Asian trading partners and allies. They have been the most forthcoming in terms of doing the deals. As I mentioned, Vice President Vance was in India last week. I think that he and Modi made some very good progress, so I could see some announcements on India. I could see the contours of a deal with the Republic of Korea coming together, and then we've had substantial talks with the Japanese.
Andrea?
Secretary BESSENT, just continuing on the path of the sort of progress. You said yesterday, I think, that it was could happen as early as this week or possibly next week. Can you give us a bit of a timetable? And then I wanted to ask about South Korea specifically. They've said that they probably won't be able to make a comprehensive deal until early July because of their elections. Japan also has elections. And to what extent are domestic factors complicating your efforts? Canada just had an election. Are you seeing that you might have to think about delaying the 90 days?
Well, I would actually take the opposite tack, that I think from our talks that these governments actually want to have the framework of a trade deal done before they go into elections to show that they have successfully negotiated with the United States. So we are finding that they are actually much more keen to come to the table, get this done, and then go home and campaign on it.
Sean?
I'm sorry, did you have a comment on whether something could happen this week or next week? For a deal. So, you said yesterday.
Again, I think that we are very close on India. And in India, just a little inside baseball, India, in a funny way, is easier to negotiate with than many other countries because they have very high tariffs and lots of tariffs. So it's much easier to confront the direct tariffs when as we go through these unfair trade deals that have been put in over decades, that the non-tariff trade barriers can be much more insidious and also harder to detect. So a country like India, which has the posted and ready tariffs, it's much easier to negotiate with them. So I think the India negotiations are moving well.
Sean, go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Secretary. So it was reported this morning that Amazon will soon display a little number next to the price of each product that shows how much the Trump tariffs are adding to the cost of each product. So isn't that a perfect crystal clear demonstration that it's the American consumer and not China who is going to have to pay for these policies?
I will take this since I just got off the phone with the president about Amazon's announcement. This is a hostile and political act by Amazon. Why didn't Amazon do this when the Biden administration hiked inflation to the highest level in 40 years? And I would also add that it's not a surprise because, as Reuters recently wrote, Amazon has partnered with a Chinese propaganda arm. So this is another reason why Americans should buy American. It's another reason why we are onshoring critical supply chains here at home to shore up our own critical supply chain and boost our own manufacturing here.
Is Jeff Bezos still a Trump supporter?
Look, I will not speak to the president's relationships with Jeff Bezos, but I will tell you that this is certainly a hostile and political action by Amazon. And Secretary, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I would also add that the bringing down the terrible Biden inflation has been a priority for the first 100 days of the Trump administration, and President Trump has done a great job of leading that since January 20th. Interest rates, mortgage rates are down.
Yeah, bro, what did he just say?
Gasoline and
everything's flashing saying White House, Amazon was hostile. Amazon announcement was hostile.
The big tax on consumers.
So now Amazon just got in the crosshairs all of a sudden.
Or regulation, and we are deregulating and bringing that down. So, from a household income
I'm surprised it's only down 1%. This is going to be a very interesting
real purchasing increases.
We still got 30
we've seen
minutes.
them over the first 100 days.
Good morning.
We would expect that to accelerate. We are doing peace deals, trade deals, tax deals, and deregulating. And the deregulation is a longer lead time, but I think by the third and fourth quarters, that's really going to kick in.
Kelly, go ahead. Thank you, Caroline. A question for you and Secretary Bessent. We talk a lot about volatility and uncertainty in the marketplace, and the president has stated all along that he's more concerned about mainstream America, the American worker. You just talked about deregulation and this entire fair trade and reciprocals. What is your message to the American people in terms of letting them get through this disturbance and the outcome being greater and a greater good for the American worker, the American people, the American families?
I would say trust in President Trump. There's a reason he was reelected to this office. It's because of the historic success of his economic formula in the first term. And as I laid out at the beginning of the briefing and the Secretary has talked about and the President talks about every day, there's a proven formula that works. Massive deregulation, energy independence, and tax cuts, which are coming. And the Secretary is working very hard on that with our counterparts on Capitol Hill. If you want to talk about that, that's a huge deal to put more money back into the pockets of hardworking Americans. As for the fair trade deals the president is trying to negotiate, he's not just righting the wrong of the mess that he inherited from the past 4 years of the Biden administration. This is a mess that has been created for the past 4 decades that has sold out the middle class, that has moved jobs overseas. You think about our heartland, middle America, what towns used to look like, what they look like today. President Trump wants to restore the golden age, and it's a process to do that. And that process is underway, but he's put together a fantastic trade team. Secretary Bessent, Secretary Lutnick, Jamieson Greer, all working incredibly hard on this effort 24/7. But tax cuts are coming, and that's key. And Mr. Secretary, why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's really a three-legged stool in the economic policy. It's trade, it's tax, and it's deregulation. So we are in the midst of addressing, as Caroline said, these long-term trade imbalances. The tax bill is going much better than I would have thought when I took office on January 28th, and that's through President Trump's leadership. That Speaker Johnson, Leader Thune are united. Speaker Johnson, we had a very good meeting yesterday with something called the Big Six, NEC Director Kevin Hassett, myself, Speaker Johnson, Leader Thune, Committee Chairman Jason Smith, and Senator Crapo. And the tax bill is moving forward. It is going to give permanence to the 2017 Tax Cuts and Job Act, which will, back to the question on certainty, it will give American business certainty, it will give American people certainty, and then President Trump is also adding the things for working Americans, that is talked about earlier, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, making auto payments deductible. So that will substantially address the affordability crisis. And the other thing that I would note, and back to data, is that the Vanguard, one of the largest money management firms in America, said that over the past 100 days, 97% of Americans haven't done a trade, and in fact, individual investors have held tight while institutional investors have panicked. So individual investors trust, investors trust President Trump.
Megan, in the back.
Can you detail for us exactly what we should expect as far as relief on the auto tariffs front? And then further, Mr. Secretary, should we expect other industries to also get relief the way we've now seen for auto and tech as well?
I'm not going to go into the details of the auto tariff relief, but I can tell you that it will go substantially toward reshoring American auto manufacturing. And again, the goal here is to bring back the high quality industrial jobs to the U.S. President Trump is interested in the jobs of the future, not the jobs of the past. We don't need to necessarily have a booming textile industry like where I grew up again, but we do want to have precision manufacturing and bring that back. And another important, very important function of this that does not get talked about enough is national security. President Trump, his overriding the concern and belief is that economic security is national security is economic security. And we saw during COVID that our supply chains got cut off. And we need to bring back a lot of those supply chains, whether it's in semiconductors, medicines, the steel, and we have to onshore those. So it's a combination of making trade free and fair and remedying this gaping national security hole that he was left with.
I would just add, Megan, the president will sign the executive order on auto tariffs later today, and we will release it as we always do. Go ahead.
Secretary, any updates on the negotiation with the European Union, and is it hard to negotiate with the European Union?
Pardon?
Do you have any updates on the negotiation with the European Union?
I'm more involved in the Asian negotiations. My observation would be, goes all the way back to Henry Kissinger's statement, when I call Europe, who do I call? So we're negotiating with a lot of different interests. Some of the European countries have put on an unfair digital service tax on our big internet provider. France and Italy, other countries, Germany and Poland, don't have that. So we want to see that unfair tax of one of America's great industries removed. So it's going to be a give and take. So they have some internal matters to decide before they can engage in an external negotiation.
Edward.
Yeah, thanks, Caroline. Mr. Secretary, so contacts I have in the business community say that they're basically frozen for long-term investment because of the uncertainty around tariffs. How long do you think President Trump has to make a deal before there's damage to the economy?
Look, I think that what we're seeing is that business leaders, they've gone into a pause, and I think we're going to give them great certainty on this tax bill. And I think over the next couple of weeks, as I said, we have 18 important trading relationships. We'll put China to the side. 17 are in motion. And then, as I said yesterday, I think there's a very good chance we're going to get this tax bill done. And the tax bill is going to be very powerful for domestic U.S. investment. So what we are going to do, one of the most powerful parts of President Trump's 2017 tax bill was full expensing of equipment. We are going to make that, as President Trump said in his speech to Congress, that will be retroactive to January 20th. The other thing that we are looking to add is full expensing for factories. So bring your factory back. You can fully expense the equipment and the building. We will couple that with deregulation, cheap energy, and regulatory certainty, and that will continue to make the U.S. the greatest destination for domestic and foreign investment.
And the president, well, if I can follow, just the president said that world leaders would like to meet with him in Rome, in Vatican City, about trade. Other than President Zelensky, who did the president meet with and about trade, and when could we get some of those deals?
The president met with President Zelensky, as you know, which we talked about, and the president continues to be engaged with his fellow fellow leaders around the world in the European Union. You've seen many of them visit the White House. I want to harp on, in closing, the point the Secretary just made. On the campaign trail, the president promised the American public that he was going to make America the best country in the world to do business again. The lowest taxes, lowest regulation, lowest energy costs of anywhere in the world. And if you do business in the United States, you won't pay a tariff, you won't pay a price. That's not just good for companies around the world, but it's good for the American worker. That's what this team is focused so hard on every day. We have work to do. The golden age of America is underway. But as I pointed out in the beginning, there's a lot of reason for the American consumer,
what do you guys want to
the
do?
American CEO, the American
Do we
small
keep
business
playing
owner
this,
to
or
be
do we get to the news?
and optimistic about this
That's
president.
it. We already
and where
hit
we're
our
headed.
7 minutes, bro.
You will hear more from the president himself
But
later
yeah,
this
they targeted
evening. He is
Amazon.
traveling to Michigan, as you all know.
Really didn't
he'll
say
make a stop
much.
at the Air
Very,
Force Base
very
with
vague,
Governor
just like
Whitmer,
last time.
And then we will
I think
head
they are
to
almost
a
done.
rally tonight where you'll hear more from him directly. So we'll see you in Michigan.
There you
Thank
go.
you, guys.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right, then. Well, there you go. Chattadonia. It is news time. So good morning, baby. We already started. I'm telling you, it's kind of weird. This happened yesterday where the White House started going really live, and it really changes the whole news dynamic. I'm telling you, instead of focusing on Bloomberg or anything in the morning, everybody is now waiting for the White House. This is the second day in a row. I don't know if it's just for the first 100 days or not, but yeah, you got some very big news right there. At the very least, I think Amazon, and there just really wasn't any clarity out of that. Again, we heard about the orders. It does sound like it's taking a little bit more time. The 17 people for a couple more weeks. I think that's a little disappointing. But other than that, man, this day was supposed to be about earnings. We do have data. Remember, the whole week is actually filled with stuff. So we'll see where it leads us. But Chattadonia, I hope you enjoyed being early with me. I don't know. We've never done that. We were live already for another 30 minutes. So good morning, baby. I haven't got to do my stretches. You know that? I need a stretch right now. That's it. I got to read my Bible. I got to go to the bathroom. All of it. Oh, El Chapato, PSA, Krista, Constant, Alex Enzo, Joe Rod, Tim Whitman in the house, baby. Good morning. What up, Jamar? Alyssa Baker. Be like Mike Laker. Jay. Good morning, baby. What up, Dakota? What up, Kurt McGirt, Lucky Soldier, Professor Loud, Tom Smith, Jerry Woods, baby, Richard Judge, Chase, Anthony, Gus Gonzo, Bobby Hallam, Samuel, was. What's up, baby? How you doing? Hi, why? Good morning, Christina, Dystopian, Ben Storm, Mr. Cook. Oh, Sean Matthews. What up, baby? What about that Twitch? Carl with the AK. Woodrow, Carl again, Rocky Bow Blowout, Bunka Fabon, what does that mean? Toy Soldier, Lightning Blue GT, Wild Boy, Feed Me Seymour, El Coyote, PhD, Epic Eric, 12 Jimin, and Mr. Robo Handtech, Donnie, Blizzy B, Danny V. Oh man, the chat went high up there. I forgot we were early. What up, Corbis? So, Chattadonia, I hope you're having a good morning. Again, Amazon is now going to be one of those plays there. But other than that, it's not that crazy. I mean, it's 0.5%. Remember, the speed and how slow it is or how fast, that will kind of determine a lot. But in the meantime, here is Josh AI with the news. Stock futures erase gain after GM freezes buyback. U.S. equity futures erased a modest gain after General Motors Company pulled earnings guidance for 2025 and put share buybacks on hold until it has more clarity on the impact of U.S. tariffs. Contracts on the S&P 500 were little changed as Treasury yields ticked higher. GM dropped in pre-market trading, reversing an earlier gain as it said it would suspend $4 billion of share repurchases. The automaker joins a growing list of U.S. companies pulling earnings projections, underscoring how the impacts of tariff turmoil are only starting to filter through the economy. And with the uncertainty created by the tariffs, we need to start pricing at least a probability of a U.S. recession, Johanna Kirkland, chief investment officer at Schroders PLC, told Bloomberg. As we analyze each company stock by stock, we're looking for that risk to growth. Otherwise, it's so far just over a third of S&P S&P 500 companies have reported quarterly results, and of those, 75% have beat estimates according to data. S&P 500 listed companies worth $20 trillion are set to deliver results this week in one of the heaviest for 2025 earnings seasons. Beyond the plethora of earnings, investors will be tracking data for clues on economic resilience in the face of tariffs. Prospects for Federal Reserve interest rate cuts will be guided by Friday's U.S. non-farm payrolls figures. Sentiment earlier was boosted by signs of easing trade tensions after a White House official said imported automobiles would be given a reprieve from separate tariffs on aluminum and steel. In Canada, the Liberal Party is projected to win a fourth consecutive election, giving a mandate to former central banker Mark Carney. Stock insurance, U.S. stocks just notched an explosive rebound from their lows. Don't get too comfortable, say some of the market's volatility watchers. Strategists at Susquehanna International Group and TD Securities are among those urging investors to buy insurance in the options markets in case stocks take a return trip to the depths reached earlier this month. Such hedges have become cheaper following a rally that saw the S&P 500 index rebound 10% from its April lows. The price of 1 month puts on the benchmark index, which are used to protect against equity declines relative to calls, which benefit from rising stock prices, is at its cheapest since President Donald Trump launched sweeping tariffs on April 2nd. Carney's Liberals win narrow victory in Canada's election. Canada's Liberal Party is projected to win a fourth consecutive election, giving a mandate to former central banker Mark Carney after a campaign in which he pledged to boost economic growth and stand up to U.S. President Donald Trump in a trade war. The margin of victory appears to be narrow. Liberal candidates were leading or elected in 168 seats, ahead of the Conservative Party's 144 seats as of 5 a.m. Ottawa time on Tuesday morning. Carney's party had about 43% of the national vote, but may fall short of the 172 seats needed for a majority in the House of Commons, meaning the government would be forced to work with other parties to pass budgets and other legislation. Under the tightest scenarios, the Bloc Québécois, which runs candidates only in French-speaking Quebec, might hold the balance of power. Trump to offer reprieve on auto tariffs after carmaker appeals. President Donald Trump is on track to ease the impact of his auto tariffs with changes sought by the industry that would lift some levies on foreign parts for cars and trucks made inside the U.S. Imported automobiles also would be given a reprieve from separate tariffs on aluminum and steel, an effort to prevent multiple levies from stacking on top of each other, a White House official said Monday. This deal is a major victory for the president's trade policy by rewarding companies who manufacture domestically while providing runway to manufacturers who have expressed their commitment to invest in America and expand their domestic manufacturing, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said in an emailed statement. J.P. Morgan traders turned bullish on U.S. stocks, but warn of pain to come. J.P. Morgan Chase and Combs' trading desk is turning tactically bullish on U.S. equities, predicting that tailwinds, including big tech earnings and trade deal announcements, will continue to lift stocks after the recent rout. Still, the bank was quick to emphasize in a note to clients Monday that the rally's momentum could fade within weeks, with the negative impacts of U.S. tariffs poised to begin dragging on the economy in the months ahead. Overall, the de-escalation trade has room to run, wrote head of global market intelligence Andrew Tyler, adding, however, that this is not an all clear for markets. U.S. stocks churned on Monday, with the S&P 500 index falling as much as 1% in afternoon trading as the technology-heavy NASDAQ 100 index's slide reached 1.4%. The declines come after U.S. equities had their second best week of 2025 as President Donald Trump touted progress in trade negotiations. Tyler and his team, who were previously tactically bearish on U.S. shares, said that their latest call differs from past bullish views because it's largely based on technical factors rather than just fundamentals. BESSENT sets July 4th tax bill goal as economic worries mount. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent set a July 4th goal to pass President Donald Trump's multi-trillion-dollar tax cut package as polling shows that voters largely disapprove of the White House's handling of the economy. We hope that we can have this tax portion done by the 4th of July, Bessent said Monday following a meeting with congressional leaders. The Treasury Secretary and National Economic Director Kevin Hassett met with Senate Majority Leader John Thune, House Speaker Mike Johnson, and the two tax committee chairmen, Senator Mike Crapo and Representative Jason Smith. Congress returned to Washington on Monday following a 2-week break, and the tax bill is the party's top legislative priority. Top overnight news: trade, tariffs, Trump to soften impact of tariffs affecting auto industry. Link, Axios, BBG, New York Times, Reuters. China denies ongoing tariff talks with U.S. again. CNBC warns against yielding to U.S. tariff threats. BBG, FT. China open to cooperating with U.S. companies after rejecting new Boeing jets. BBG. China reassures it won't flood markets with goods despite U.S. trade war. Reuters. Amazon seeks discounts from suppliers to protect margins amid Trump's tariffs. FT. Walmart has told some Chinese suppliers to resume shipments, sources say. SCMP CNN. U.S. aviation industry lobbying White House for exemptions from tariffs. Reuters. China official says country's food energy supplies secure without U.S. imports. SCMP. Japan warns U.S. tariffs could push Asian economies closer to China. BBG. German conservative Merz proposes abolition of tariffs by U.S. and Europe. London Times. Corporate CEOs from NVIDIA, Eli Lilly, J&DJ, Hyundai, Toyota, SoftBank will visit White House to discuss U.S. investments. Axios. BBG. Some Amazon sellers reluctant to commit to Prime Day discounts amid tariffs, decreasing deals, or pulling out altogether. Reuters. Microsoft and OpenAI's partnership is strained over computing power and model access disagreements. OpenAI adds shopping feature to ChatGPT, allowing users to compare products, make purchases on external websites. BBG. Alibaba unveils its Qwen 3 series of AI models, which rival DeepSeek's performance and cut deployment costs. BBG. Buzz continues to build around expected imminent launch of DeepSeek R2, the successor to the R1 reasoning model released in January. SCMP. S&P Global Ratings will not downgrade Boeing's debt to junk status, citing its $24 billion cash balance. Reuters. Wall Street Bank sold last of the $1.2 billion debt from Elon Musk's Twitter takeover at 98 cents on the dollar. Reuters. American Airlines ended talks with JetBlue to revive their partnership. BBG. NXP Semiconductors announces new CEO and warns of uncertainty due to tariffs. BBG. AstraZeneca posts higher Q1 profit, but weaker than expected sales of key cancer medicines. BBG. FT. Deutsche Bank posts highest quarterly pre-tax profit in 14 years, driven by investment banking. FT. Rheinmetall's Q1 earnings exceeded forecasts, supported by military sales. Reuters. HSBC announced a $3 billion share buyback despite a drop in Q1 net profit. CNBC. BP cut its share buyback to $750 million due to lower oil prices and rising debt. BBG. Adidas did not raise financial targets due to concerns over U.S. tariffs affecting prices. BBGFT. Porsche lowered 2025 forecasts due to market weakness in China and U.S. tariffs. BBG. Novartis raised its 2025 outlook after strong Q1 profit and sales. BBG. Sony is considering spinning off its semiconductor unit to focus on entertainment. BBG. Woodside Energy in talks for its $17.5 billion Louisiana LNG project. BBG. Washington. Bessent sets 4-jewel goal to pass reconciliation bill. Senate Republicans still focused on August. BBG. Tariffs, spending cuts, and concerns of immigration overreach drag on Trump's approval ratings. FT. Axios. As his approval ratings fall, Trump increasing his travel to promote his agenda. BBG. Trump advisors seriously considering likelihood he would be impeached again if Democrats take the House next year. Axios. Trump expresses confidence in Defense Secretary Hegseth amid recent turmoil at the Pentagon. BBG. Axios. Economy. Global economic growth expectations shift bearish on tariff headwinds. Reuters. Trump suggests tariffs could replace income taxes for many, but math does not work. Washington State has passed new taxes to bridge a record budget deficit targeting tech giants. BBG. German consumer confidence improves from low levels, GfK survey shows. Reuters. China. Some Chinese exporters are converting dollar income to yuan, anticipating currency stabilization. BBG. Trip numbers in China are expected to hit a 3-year high during the May Day holidays. Reuters. Markets. Some analysts recommend buying insurance in the options markets in case stocks plunge again. BBGG. Geopolitics. Mark Carney and Liberals win Canada election. Axios. FT. Carney says old relationship with U.S. is over. Reuters. Russia hopes warmer weather will aid its spring offensive, potentially hindering Ukraine's defense. Iran has proposed meeting the European parties to a 2015 nuclear deal possibly in Rome this Friday. Reuters. India-Pakistan tensions escalate. Pakistan defense official warning immediate threat of war. BBG. Reuters. Spain and Portugal working to restore transport networks after a major power outage. FT. BBG. Mother for Yao always clowning on Josh AI, but I know where you trade, little homie. Ah ha ha! I don't know what that was, but we got a little bit more. We got to hurry it up. We got to hurry it up, baby. Good morning. S&P futures lower on Tuesday morning, near the worst pre-market levels. Comes after U.S. equities finished mostly higher in a choppy but an uneventful Monday. S&P up for the 5th straight session, its longest winning streak of the year, despite being down 1% earlier in the day. Treasuries weaker with yields up 2 to 3 basis points, follows a strong Monday session that saw the 10-year down for a 5th straight day to the lowest level in 3 weeks. Dollars up by 0.2 after losing 0.5% to start the week. Gold down by 0.9, Bitcoin up by 0.3, and WTI down by 1.7. Tariff relief for autos and auto parts, the big story for today. Market's latest de-escalation attempt on the part of the White House. However, move has been widely expected in auto sector, still facing meaningful tariff headwinds. Pretty quiet elsewhere on the trade front. Little news from BESSENT appearance saying don't expect supply shocks. Administration set to speak to 17 partners in coming weeks. However, still no signs of thawing in U.S.-China tensions. Market still in waiting mode for a flurry of high-profile earnings, including from 4 Mag 7 names in macro data. Heightened macro uncertainty and tariff mitigation efforts, the big earnings theme thus far. When it comes down to macro, market continues to focus on the divergence between soft sentiment and hard data. Fed is in a quiet period ahead of the next week meeting, which could bring renewed criticism from Trump about the lack of rate cuts. In terms of fiscal policy, BESSENT set a July 4th goal to pass the reconciliation bill, while Johnson has continued to push for Memorial Day in August. Seems to be the focus for Senate. Busier on the U.S. economic calendar this morning with trade balance, wholesale inventories, house price index, Case-Shiller home price index, JOLTS job openings, and Conference Board of Consumer Confidence. The latter expected to get outsized attention after falling to the lowest level in March since January 21. More high-profile data as the week progresses with core PCE inflation, ADP private payrolls. First look at Q1 GDP along with Treasury quarterly refunding. Thursday brings ISM manufacturing, and on Friday looking for 130,000 on jobs. Walmart missed on free cash flow, slightly below guidance range, but reaffirmed full-year outlook. CD&S, quarter one revenue in line. EPS better, raised full-year guide and said has not been seeing changes in customers' behavior. NXPI, Q1 slightly better, though auto and industrial light. Q2 guide ahead of the midpoint. NUE beat low bar and street positive on Q2 outlook. SBAC noted improvement on U.S. activity levels. FFIV takeaways mix with system upside and software weakness. UHS behavioral volumes light with weather drag through and acute upside and expense control bright spots. CR Q1 ahead, full year guide reaffirmed. WWD raised low end of full year sales and EPS guide. CCK up big on outside EPS beat, upward revision, and then San M hit by weaker Q3 guide, and AMKR helped by better Q2 guide. Wow. So Chattadonia, all the earnings are pretty much, or all the pre-market movers, it's just pretty much earnings. So that being said, my friends, we got to go. BESSENT and everybody kept us behind, but now there's something in a group of people that kept us ahead. Oh, yeah. I hope they feel me. And here at the Cult, baby, every single day before we chase a dollar, this is very important to me. And honestly, I hope it becomes important to you. It's honoring the freedom that we have and the people who have given so much for it. So every day before that bell rings, man, we got to honor our veterans, active service, past service, anybody who has served this country for real. Thank you for your service. Thank you for everything you have given. It is so easy to take our freedom for granted. And every day we are looking at people and encountering people who have made this commitment. And you share this room with them right now. So veterans, I'm honored to even have you guys. I look forward to helping you. You let me know if anybody should be getting a crib, a portfolio. It should be you. And at the very least, man, if y'all haven't served, bro, I really hope you could bring this to real life. You know, I've never served in my life, and I feel like it is our duty at the bare minimum to honor those who have given so much for us. So veterans, the families, God bless every single one of you, and thank you for so much and everything you have given. And big shout out to anybody else out there giving back to their local communities, doctors, nurses, teachers, firefighters, police officers, the janitors, the coaches, the garbage men, anybody making their community run. God bless you and thank you, baby. But ladies and gentlemen, please rise. Place your right hand over your heart. Say it with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, baby. Son of the judge! Oh, it's game time, baby. Oh, no, let's go. Oh, yeah. Chatadonia. Shout out to vets, baby. Let's go. You better wake your ass up, man. It's game time. It's game time. So let's go. We got to go to Gen Pop, bro. We're behind. Oh, yeah. The BESSENT. The BESSENT behind. That's bad. That's bad. No, that didn't. It's going to sound weird. Anyways, I got to go. I love you, baby. Thank you, veterans. We wouldn't be here without y'all. I will see you on the other video, and let's have a great Tuesday, baby. Good morning. Good morning. Let's go.